Hi everybody, it's December 21st, 2024, and this is my video journal of my recovery from the trauma of watching the British Columbia New Democratic Party government lock up my little brother for 588 days. We missed 173 scheduled visits. They locked him up when I discovered and reported to the police a fraudulent and forged power of attorney they created over Paul, naming my 82-year-old Catholic nun sister 4,000 kilometers away as his substitute decision maker or guardian. So they didn't let me visit him for 588 days. We were allowed a 10-minute telephone call once a week. He begged me to visit him, and his last request to me was to take him to a movie. He said, "Kathleen, take me to a movie." He didn't understand what was going on. I never believed that such evil could take place in Canada, but it's actually the tip of the iceberg of Canadian evil. So today I'm just trying to sort of get through all this Christmas stuff. This will be the first Christmas in 66 years that Paul wasn't around or that we couldn't visit. They allowed us, actually last year, they allowed us one 1-hour visit at their BC government office. Like I said, I just couldn't believe that you'd find such evil. So Paul had a stroke on April 13th, and when the nun found out that I knew about the Ottawa oversight agent for the RCMP police ordered the RCMP in Burnaby to investigate their investigation into this fraudulent power of attorney. When the nun found out that I knew, and I didn't find out until April 21st, I believe that she ordered, in my opinion, she ordered Paul to be killed. He had a ventilator. He was wearing a ventilator over his mouth. He appeared to be, the evil nun allowed me a 10-minute visit once a day with Paul, although I sat in the lobby of the hospital for 12 hours a day when he was there. And he had intravenous and a catheter, and he had a ventilator over his mouth, and he was so happy to see me. He grabbed my hand and held it so tight. It was like a steel vice, and he wouldn't let go until they made me leave. And I'm sorry to say that the Catholic Church has been paying for her lawyers. She had 2 law firms working around the clock. And of course, the BC, the evil socialist, communist, New Democratic Party government in British Columbia were trying to cover up their malfeasance and their cruelty towards my brother and to me. It just felt like torture. So Paul had a stroke on April 13th. They didn't tell me till April 15th. The nun's evil lawyer emailed me and said, "Oh, Paul had a stroke. You can arrange a visit through me." So I was allowed to visit him, and he appeared to be recovering. He was struggling to recover. Paul loves life. He's taken so many blows, more than any of us could ever imagine. Can you imagine being born with Down syndrome and the way everybody treats you and looks at you? But he made the best of it. He carried himself with such dignity and such grace. Anyways, so he was recovering. Every day he seemed to be getting a little bit better. But when the nun found out that I knew that the RCMP had opened the investigation into her representation agreement, she ordered the doctor to remove his ventilator. She moved him into a private room so there was nobody there to watch what she was doing. And she had his ventilator removed. And she sedated him. I believe he was sedated to death with hydromorphone. So they killed him. Now, in Canada, it's legal to kill people if they ask for it, but it's supposed to be strictly enforced although it's sloppy and lazy and not strictly enforced, but they have to be mentally capable of understanding what they're asking for. Paul was declared incapable by a judge a year ago. So he could not have consented to being sedated to death. So I immediately contacted the police. I had emailed her after I found out that the RCMP had reopened the investigation. I tried to get in front of a judge. I wasn't successful. And I emailed her and I said, on April 22nd, and I said, I'm coming, when can I visit Paul? I'm in the hospital. And she emailed me back and she said, Paul's dead. I did actually see him, and he appeared to me to be dead. His eyes were wide open, and he was completely unresponsive, and the ventilator had been removed. And all his medical supports had been removed. So I complained to the RCMP. I wrote them immediately. I said, please treat his death as suspicious. Now, the RCMP are were slow walking their investigation because they dropped the ball every step of the way, and they were ordered by Ottawa to reopen their investigation. But they were slow walking that because they didn't want to find themselves guilty of malfeasance or incompetence or negligence. But they are the oversight agency in Ottawa, to my understanding, is still, I've been in communication with them and they are involved. So Paul was unlawfully killed, but you can imagine how hard that's going to be difficult to prove. But he was not dying, he was recovering, and the vast majority of people recover. Many people recover from strokes so that you never knew they had a stroke at all. They have such excellent care. And he was in a group home, so somebody should have noticed right away that he had a stroke, and he should have been rushed. There shouldn't have been any delay. I mean, they pay these people an arm and a leg. They were getting the L'Arche, L'Arche, were getting $25,000 a month, I estimate, for Paul's care. So he should have been rushed right to the hospital. There should have been no delay. Anyways, so it wasn't enough that they killed my brother right in front of my eyes. Can you imagine that? But then when they found out that the RCMP were investigating them, they brought on an application to have me declared a vexatious litigant, to take away my rights, my litigation rights as a human being. And there was a hearing on November 18th. 5 mornings, and the judge understood. She said, she looked very skeptical. She was parachuted in at the last minute. We had a good judge, then they parachuted in a new judge at the last minute, and she looked, very skeptical when I said, I've got a potentially fatal heart condition. I've already had a heart attack, and I can't appear in court for longer than 2 hours. And every judge I've been before, and there's been many, they never ask me to appear longer than 2 hours. The second day, when the evil nun's lawyers were launching into their vexatious litigant diatribe against me, at 12 o'clock I said, well, I've got to go. It's been 2 hours. And she said, can't you sit in the gallery? So she risked my life. She was prepared to risk my life. And she went ahead till 12:30 that day, and then for 2 full days after that. That's the worst thing that's happened so far. Like, it wasn't enough that they killed Paul, but they got to kill me too. So I'm getting my 10,000 steps in. I try and do 10,000 steps a day. I'm doing everything I can to try and maintain, to get into shape and try and maintain my good health, so that I can fight these assholes for you. So please continue. Right now I'm in the middle of my 10,000 steps. Actually, I've already hit my 10,000 steps. So please continue to contribute to our GoFundMe. I have to file an appeal of that decision on Monday. It's going to cost $280 to file a notice of appeal. And I'm paying for that out of my old age security. So please just click on the link in the description box for this video and contribute to our GoFundMe account. It's not over yet. I mean, they've killed Paul, but it's not over. God willing, she's going to be arrested for murder. That's what I'm hoping. She murdered my brother right in front of my eyes. If you don't know anything about medical assistance in dying in Canada, Canada changed the law, and when Justin Trudeau came in, that was the first thing he did. That's his claim to fame, is he decriminalized marijuana and murder. So disabled people who are not dying naturally can ask to be killed by a regular doctor at no cost to them under our medical, it's called medical assistance in dying, or MAID. And all you need are 2 signatures from 2 medical practitioners. They do not need to know the patient. Any 2, a doctor and a nurse, and they can administer a lethal injection and kill them. And there's new evidence out, I've read research that says that it is not painless, that it's a kind of drug that creates a feeling of drowning. So it's like you're drowning. But Canada, since Justin Trudeau came into power, Canada has killed 60,000 non-extrajudicially. So there's no judicial oversight at all. And I used to be a divorce lawyer, and it took me a year just to get a divorce. And often about 50% of them were bounced because the paperwork wasn't up to snuff. But they're killing 20 plus people a day, with no judicial oversight at all. And we're the laughing stock, or the people are horrified around the world. Horrified. India, China. Even in China, they don't do this. So when you're so sloppy and lazy about, and when you normalize the murder of innocent, vulnerable, and impoverished people, then people just get reckless about how they do it. And there's a recent case I just read yesterday of a man who escaped from his mental health facility, and he got himself killed with medical assistance in dying, and his family suing the government. Anyways, I think the fact that conservative values are taking over the Western society, and that Trump won in a landslide, and Justin Trudeau, his claim to fame is going to go down with him, of euthanasia is going to go down with him. 5 out of 100 deaths in Canada is caused by a doctor or nurse on purpose. And British Columbia has the highest rate of euthanasia, not to mention that British Columbia gives out free opioids to people, including children. And the leading cause of death in British Columbia of children aged 10 to 18 is drug overdoses. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. But I feel optimistic, as long as my health hangs in there, and it is, and I'm working on it. So please, as I said, contribute to our GoFundMe account. I have to file an appeal on Monday, day after tomorrow. That's going to cost $280. And whether you help or not, I've got to keep going. But it helps give me hope. I've raised $2,165 out of a goal of $4,000. I estimate that my Catholic nun sister has been given $500,000 by the Catholic Church to sue me and drag me through hell. That's what we're up against. The Catholic Church and the Socialist, Communist, BC New Democratic Party. I mean, But I like my odds. We're going to make it. Take care, everybody.